Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to the Devil May Cry commentary as we enter the Canyon of Mist. As we get a little bit more powered up, a little bit more puzzle-oriented this time around, and one that will actually be repeated quite a few times throughout the Devil May Cry series. I don't know if 2 has one of them, but I know Devil May Cry 3 and 4 have one. Both of which significantly more inferior to this one, but this one has its own caveat really, but basically it's about choosing the right path and otherwise you'll be lost forever. Oh yeah, that's one of the similar attacks actually that, Dante can get a unique death animation with if his health is low enough, so yeah. Guess even the blue puppets can pull it off as well. Anyway, you see that guiding light over there? No, that isn't the Virgin Mary, nor Beatrice, nor the poet Virgil. There's gonna be no, "Oh master, guide me through this forest." That's, well, I mean, it kind of is, but not quite in the same sort of, direct cantos that we would have seen in the Divine Comedy. Anyway, as we continue going through violence, really, I believe, well, I suppose what possibly might have been a direct, influence in terms of, the Divine Comedy was, the Lost Forest, or at least, one of the aspects of Purgatory, or I think it might have been Inferno as well. But basically, a lot of the Lost Woods. Rather dark twist about it is that actually, a lot of the trees that you actually see there are in fact the very victims. So, yeah. One of the unique ideas behind them is that, again, their twisted trees, their branches are actually their twisted limbs, and, I believe you can also see their corpse hanging off it, so, fun stuff. Nothing that really applies to Devil May Cry, mind you, but, it is a rather morbid point of inspiration, and, something I kind of wish they went a little bit more with, because, as of right now, this basically just sort of looks like Capcom's take on Silent Hill. Just with, a lot of heavier fog effects. But in any case, so, there we go, you try doing your spinny thingy, and then Dante will do his. Ah, come on, have better reaction timing than that, you fucker. But then again, you can easily say that when you're not in the heat of battle, not concentrating. Not thinking too heavily. But there is a reason why you want to take care of all the enemies before you, confront the light with the ambience. It's a riddle of the Sphinx, and now we must solve the riddle of the Minx. I do kind of wish they, they shadowed some of the text, because it can be a little bit hard to read, but ostensibly, basically, this guiding light is going to show you which pathway to take as it floats onward. One of the caveats, however, is that the light can also be absorbed into enemies, so basically you need to defeat the enemies before the light fades, and you also need to make sure that you follow the light before it in and of itself fades, otherwise, well, going through either one of these pathways will pretty much lead Dante right back to where he started, and, well, yes, the Forest of the Dead. You will never leave here. As is the case of, Purgatory, Limbo, the first Circle of Hell, really, for the unbelievers and people who weren't baptized. So, basically, if you weren't baptized, you're pretty much fucked. I mean, that actually does kind of come to a bit of a funny thing in the original Divine Comedy, where the poet Virgil, who I believe was, again, he was a pagan philosopher, and part of the reason why he was sentenced to hell is because he was, well, a pagan philosopher who was doing his thing before Christianity even existed, so technically he couldn't even save his soul even if he wanted to. Well, I mean, I suppose technically he could have if Christian continuity is to be believed, but whatever. The point is that Virgil was quite a funny and unique character in the original Divine Comedy, which is more than I can say for Devil May Cry Virgil, or at least the classic incarnation, but that's neither here nor there in this case. In the meantime, however, as we have Ifrit equipped, should I talk or should I not? That is the question. I think I might say that for a little bit later, but, yes. In the meantime, just follow the light. And I believe we've finally completed the path. Don't quote me on this, but I do think you do technically need the light in order to follow through with the pathways, otherwise it'll just lead you back. So I don't think you can cheat the system similar to what you can in Devil May Cry 3 and 4 if you just know the pathway ahead of time and can just sort of skim your way across, but, yeah, it's neither here nor there in this case. By the way, these are Cyclops. Basically, stone versions of the, Resident Evil spider and, have similar sort of attack patterns to, what Phantom had, but the difference being is that basically, well, yeah, they're a lot weaker and, They were actually part of a secret mission that I ended up tackling without recording all the way back in the castle. You encounter it, I believe, shortly after the Key to Wildor mission, so... Yeah, it's basically in the castle basement right underneath where, you know, you first fought the Beelzebub, so... Yeah, all that aside, I failed and, well, these are the Cyclops. Also, notice that they have a very similar dying animation to what you would have seen in Resident Evil, where they explode. They don't release any spiders, thank goodness, but, yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote. Anyway, let's keep our grenade launcher handy as we utilize our abilities. There we go. Again, it's very sluggish and probably a little bit more impractical than it otherwise should be, but I don't know, I just like launching big fuck-off fireballs against my enemies, and again, it does put the damage in, it's just that it won't really get you a lot of style rankings, so yeah, good stuff. Although it is also worth noting, somewhat annoyingly, is that, yeah, if you have Air Hike equipped as one of Alastor's abilities, you don't get your double jump as, you know, when you switch to Ifrit. So bear that in mind if you're switching between weapons, because certain abilities are locked towards one weapon and not the other, even though later games would eventually equip double hike as its own ability, you know, specific for Dante, Nero, or whoever else you're playing as. Rather inversely, Devil May Cry 2 actually sidesteps this issue entirely by, you know, having both Dante and Lucia have these abilities, you know, free of charge. Which they fucking should have been in every game, but, you know what, Devil May Cry 1 I can somewhat forgive, you know. Part Resident Evil, part action game, all hero, whatever else. But yeah, facetiousness aside though, Air Hike should be a standardized ability, but no, even in, actually, was it standardized in the reboot? I think it was as well, so, fuck it, that just makes even less sense. Yeah, but anyway, even frustratingly in Devil May Cry 5, you still had to waste your ores that you'd otherwise pay for, whatever. Yeah, I mean, even then, I'd still say better the way, you know, 5 handles are better than Devil May Cry 4's fucking Proud Soul shit. God, no idea what the fuck I was thinking there, but it's neither here nor there in this case. In any case, however, more abilities to purchase. Oh, if only we had more money to spend to our heart's content. But now, it is time for us to meet our fate, as we pick up the quote-unquote chalice. But we're not quite brave enough for that yet, so let's show off another secret mission, which I don't do terribly at, as we face the Wandering Ghosts. Ostensibly, basically being the, you know, Scissor Sisters trio over there, and use them to jump up, and Bob's your uncle, we pretty much get the blue orb. And now we can get all the sweet, tasty orbs. Bravo! Absolute! Not awesome as I initially suspected that it was. Come on, can we get stylish? Oh no! Nirvana will not be reached. Yeah, but yeah, what the blue ranking actually is absolute, not awesome, as I was led you to believe in the first part, so I do apologize for that. I'm trying to remember which game it was. I want to say it was either 3 or 4? Or was it the reboot, actually? I can't remember what they had for that game. I know Devil May Cry 4 was Atomic, so it was either 3 or the Devil May Cry reboot. Because 1's Absolute, 2 is Are You Ready, 5 is... Fuck it, I can't remember what 5 was either. By the way, can I just say, in terms of, you know, geeking out about sound design once again, I love the very creepy laugh that lingers whenever you destroy the, you know, the Death Scissors. I don't know, it's quite morbid and spooky. In any case, so... Done! We succeeded, even though we won't be getting all the secret missions, because I failed, and I suck, and should die. Skully must die mode. Maybe that'll be included in a game. Oh wait, it is included in a game. It's included in my real life, where I suck. Anyway, this is the Death Scythe. Basically the most powerful variant of, you know, one of the enemies that we fought before. Again, we already have the Death Scissors, and now this, yeah, basically, the Death Scythe is basically very important. I would recommend using a Holy Water here, because these enemies can be quite bullshit, because they can teleport around, they can phase through shit, similar to what you can, you know, see with a lot of the other, you know, Synthesize and, you know, various enemies of their ilk. They can basically launch you upwards using a little tornado ability, and, well, let's just say that, when they're attacking you in packs on the harder difficulties, it can be quite bullshit. But anyway, here's Holy Water. Holy Ghost. Who was the one who... Oh no, holy water was not enough! I sacrificed my ranking for nothing, but... Anyway, they pack a serious punch and, yeah, it's incredibly frustrating and, they're one of the more annoying enemies of the game. They're very tough to take down and really... holy water. That's why I recommend saving at least a few on your person, just so you can, you know, give them a taste of justice! And by defeating them, we gain access to more cinnamon buns as we, you know, fly around and gather more pustules? No, puzzles. In this case, it's pretty much just sort of having a bit of a round-robin trip as we collect more orbs. What we're really here to collect is chalice so that we can pass through to the underground sectors, you know, get some of the shield power-ups that we need to access the Colosseum. Bada bing, we do the thing, and we also get to explore... Well, I suppose what was either one of the initial colonization attempts from, you know, the Castellan inhabitants, or I guess maybe what was, once a little pirate alcove, but that's all gonna be stuff for future parts, because in the meantime, well, exploration aplenty, really. Yeah, I suppose to talk about Devil May Cry in terms of its actual platforming gameplay, again, it is very arthritic and rigid, and arguably the most, aged part of the game, even more so than the combat, because, I mean, the combat is simple, but, you know, it works for what it is. The platforming, on the other hand, is... Well, I mean, even for the time, not even, you know, discounting, you know, actual 3D platforms that we already had at this stage. Yeah, the fact that Dante has a very Simon Belmont-esque jump that you can only really correct with, you know, the air hike that, you know, you need to purchase beforehand, and costs more than a pretty penny for you to fucking get. Yeah, it's one of the few elements of the game that's just, that wouldn't be refined until the fucking reboot. And you know what? To the game's credit, they did try and make adjustments for the platforming. Like, I mean, Devil May Cry 2 gave you the double jump and trickster abilities. 3 gave you a little bit of an air dash as part of the expansion to the trickster abilities. 4 gave you Nero's Devilbringer, which, you know, had some little Spider-Man slingshot gameplay, and the reboot finally perfected that, and 5 didn't really fucking bother with it at all. I mean, apart from like once or twice when you had to like use one of these familiars to fly across using a certain familiar character. But again, I'll say my tongue on that. In the meantime though, yeah, more fighting, more violence, and yeah, as we go off to collect a sign of chastity, which Dante most certainly does not have. Given that he was a horny bugger in his teenage years. After all, we were all young once, yeah, to talk about Ifrit, actually, since we have the weapon equipped. Yeah, initially the Devil May Cry didn't actually have fist-fighting combat with Ifrit, or I suppose even with Dante's own 2 fists. Because what an Ifrit was initially going to be, it was a fire-based power-up for Alastor, which, it begins to make a lot more sense when you see what happens in Devil May Cry 2 with its amulet system, where... Again, one of the biggest complaints about that game was the lack of weapon variety and the fact that you only really had, you know, certain elemental abilities that you could attach to your sword, you know, lightning, fire, or, you know, ice power-ups. And, yeah, that does begin to make a lot more sense when you consider Devil May Cry 2's development timeline. Here's a hint, while the first game is getting localized for release, yeah, didn't exactly have a lot to draw from, so I guess I only had the early concepts to work with. Well, for a time at least. Who knows what the original direction of that game was going, but... Regardless of such, basically that's part of the reason why, you know, Ifrit was eventually changed to give a little bit more weapon variety and space, for the lack of a better phrase. Though, I mean, as an unfortunate side effect to that, it would pretty much become a bog-standard Devil May Cry thing, so, you know, obviously we would always have to have a punchy weapon, you know, like our sign of chastity here, which, is a brain. Use your brain instead of your penis. I don't know, I'm not really too sure. But I mean, anyway, to get back to ranting topics of Devil May Cry proportions, yeah, Beowulf I wasn't really too impressed since it's basically Ifrit with basically a leitmotif going on about it. Well, that and the boss you also get it from is a bit of a bitch and a half. Not because it's hard, but just because it's, well, it's fucking weak and worthless. And, yeah, I mean, 4 kind of ups the ante a little bit more by having it be a little bit more like a fast-paced kung fu kind of thing, but... Yeah, none of the punchy weapons were ever really that useful in my eyes. I mean, I do like Ifrit for what it gives you, but... Yeah, it's neither here nor there in this case. The reboot has, like, these fucking giant Hulk hands, which, I mean, is meant to be that game's equivalent of Ifrit, but it also isn't really too much either. And I mean, technically, if you unlock Trish in Devil May Cry 2, you do get Ifrit as one of her punching fists if you happen to use Round Trip, because she also borrows the move data from Devil May Cry 1. So really, it's just, Bob's your uncle, chalice full of poison, a sign of chastity. Use your brain. I was trying to use the uppercut to get out in a very cool-like fashion, but sadly, was not meant to be. In any case, so let's move on to our deluxe apartment in the sky. This is not our deluxe apartment, but a sign of, well, if you couldn't already tell by the fact that there's no enemies in here, it's fairly spacious, lots of room, Gothic architecture, you know, definitely I'd say are worth, you know, a brisk $100 million in terms of property value. Yeah, which I mean, I guess it probably would be given its, you know, its locale, its history, and, well, you know, the fact that there's also fucking demons here, not to mention all the memorabilia on display, so, yeah. Basically, beating around the bush, we're gonna be having a boss fight here, so, let's insert the brain inside the little chalice over here, and it's time to meet an old familiar face. Maybe we can get a drink here. Welcome back, Nelo Angelo. Not really too much changes in this boss fight whatsoever. I think he's a little bit more aggressive in his attack patterns, but really he doesn't really have that many new moves. I guess maybe the arena being a little bit more closed and compact means that there probably isn't a lot more space for you to run away, but excuse me. Yeah, I guess maybe just the more compact arena and the fact that he's a bit more aggressive with his tells, and yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote, really. So yeah, second verse same as the first, really. I mean, I will say, Nelo Angelo fights are still quite good. Yeah, nothing more really to say. I suppose to kind of talk trivia for the little bit more time that we have it, I am actually looking through the list of Divine Comedy characters here. Because I was looking for something that I was trying to see who might have been based on, and I think he might have been based on Filippo Argenti? He was basically a Florentine knight with a very foul temper who, the moment he sees Dante, tries to attack him. Which is, you know, quite fitting for what we're seeing here, although rather curiously in the Divine Comedy, he's warded off in the Divine Comedy by Virgil. And notice when he saw Dante's amulet earlier. Very interesting. Well, see you later, Mr. Florentine Knight, and now we can finally get our drink of, I don't know, Pepsi, beer, coffee, whatever's your poison, really. Anyway, now we can collect our chalice. It has the makings of a knight. Could this be our Florentine Knight? There we go. So we don't get our drink, but the door unlocks, and thus we can continue our journey downwards, as we see more of Malay Island and its statue of a gold knight. There's nothing left for me to do here anymore. Oh, my greed. It always gets the better of me. Oh well, I mean, I could always sell people phony alchemy. Hey, would any of you guys like to learn how to fly? Don't worry, just call 1-900-Grifolino-Skully, and he'll teach you all you need to know. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of the mission. Got a B rank, rather paltry, but... Acquished. On that note, I'm Solidus-Skully, keeping new metal, and next time on the Devil May Cry commentary, well, we're gonna get nautical up in this sumbitch. Catch you later.
Let's rock, baby.